So I've got some questions how I style my Chihiro wig. So I've decided to make a video about it and show how I turn this into what you usually see on my Instagram and TikTok. So as first step, we're gonna wash this wig. So it's very important that you start with a clean base. Important items that you need is a bucket and shampoo. You can use conditioner or fabric softener if you want, that's personal preference. After filling up your bucket with some warm water, add your shampoo and your wig. It is important to wash your wig to get rid of any kind of dirt or earlier used products such as hairspray, gel and such. After washing your wig, rinse it out with some cold water and let it dry. For the wig to dry, you should put it on a wig head, but don't comb through it just yet. If you comb through a wig while it's wet, it will break very quickly. It's the fastest way to ruin a wig. It's okay to go through it with your hands a little bit, but don't be too rough. Now that I've slightly detangled the wig with my hands, I'm gonna just dry it with a towel. Also, hi Kedemano. Just carefully pat it, don't go too wild just yet, okay? Another piece of reference for drying the wig by hand is just get your towel, just hold it down, and once again don't go crazy. Just very slowly, softly, take your time. Another important part about drying your wigs is drying surface. Now, it might not make a lot of sense if you just heard it like that, but in order for it to dry quickly, you want it to be spread out, like this. For example, the inside of a wig doesn't dry very quickly if you keep it on a head. So I've laid down the wig like this, so this part can dry. Because the hair itself is already pretty dry by now, but the inside, the wefts, are still very wet on my hands, as you can see on the water. Because it's a sunny day outside today, I've decided to put them out, so this will dry it quicker, so you can get to work faster. Okay, so while those are drying, these are the products I most commonly use for my Chihiro wig. So first I have two different combs, a more broader one and a fine one, with a little point to section the hair. So I use these both comb through it, but also back comb. That's very important to get the bangs up straight. Now, if you don't have a fine one like this, that's okay. I just personally use it, you don't need it. To get the curl on the back, I use one of these round ones, but it's very important that they have these fine bristles in between. These hold the hair in place. In order to keep the hair curled, I actually use a hair blow dryer, how do you call this in English? So you hold it and heat it up. And then of course it needs to cool down, but you'll see that later. In order to keep the hair up straight, besides the curl, you also want it to lift a little bit so it looks more fluffier. I use a... flat iron, I forgot the name just now, so I can hold it up straight. So what you do is you just topple the head upside down so the hair is up straight, and then you just kind of heat it up. Of course, I also use both hairspray and gel to keep the front pieces in place, because the bangs are the most difficult part, but if you do just right, they're very sturdy and they won't budge very quickly. Other items that are useful is a little container for loose hairs that I personally use, and two clips about this size to keep the side bangs away from the back part when you're curling it. Okay, so now that the wig has dried, I'm going to go through it before we get to the actual styling. Okay, so now that's done, we're gonna make the curls in the back. Okay, so first I'm gonna make the hair stand up by itself already a little bit by topping over my wig stand like this, and I'm gonna use my hair straightener to make it up straight. Heat styling is very important for this wig. So I just grab random pieces, because if you do everything in nice lines, you'll get layers. What I'm going for is just a general kind of clouds of hair. So I want it to look very fluffy and be natural, so it can move and you don't have to worry about sitting in a car and messing up your wig just like that. So just generally kind of heat it up a little bit around the roots. Just run your hands through it and you'll be fine. So my hair straightener is on low heat, so it won't do a lot of difference just now. and that'll be okay. This is the only part I'll actually be using this one for, so you don't really need it, hence I didn't. Yeah. So right now it looks like this. It's very weird, I know, but this is very helpful for the fluffy effects. So after pulling it back up, it should stand up by itself already. It looks very weird, I know. It'll get better, I promise. Just come through it once more now that it's up straight. Okay, so as you can see, it's still fluffy, but it's not curled just yet. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing now. So once again, you're going to need the round brush with the fine bristles in between. And of course, your hairdryer. So what you're going to be doing is you just grab a random piece like this, pick it up, turn on your hairdryer on high, don't be scared, it'll be okay, and just heat it up for a bit and let it cool down. Cooling down is really important for the heat styling because you're teaching the fibers a new shape. So now you're just going to hold it in place for a bit and just wait for it to cool down. So what I just did is I also pressed down the fibers a little bit more into this brush, so it will stay in place while it's cooling down. So you really just need to be patient for this part, but believe me, it will be worth it. Once it has cooled down, you're just going to slowly remove it from the brush, and voila! Look at that. It's nice and curled up, and you're just going to grab random pieces, go through the entire thing, and brush it out in between. That will keep it nice and fluffy and avoiding getting actual layers. And when you're done, it should look something like this. As you can see, it's very fluffy and you can move it around and it stays upwards. Here it is up close. As you can see, it's all very fluffy and cloudy as I had described before. Okay. So next up we're going to do the side bangs. I've already clipped away the two pieces for the front. It looks so weird, I'm sorry. So first you're just going to go through normally and then we're going to backcomb them. Okay, so with backcombing, or well, teasing, we're going to start in the top and then move upwards and slowly make our way downwards. While doing so, it's important to hold the piece in the direction you want it to go. Okay, so now you do the same for the other side. And it looks very weird and sturdy, but we're going to fix that in just a bit. So once you're done with that, you add some hairspray to these two pieces and then blow dry them on low heat, medium heat, whatever your wig can handle, and let that cool down. Now that these two have cooled down and dried, we carefully comb out the outer layer of hairs on each side. After that, once again, hairspray and a blow dryer. Okay, so now you're done with that, I'm going to add a little bit of hairspray and a little bit of gel to the tips to make them nice and pointy. Okay, so now you should have this, which already looks very nice in my opinion. And it's very sturdy, so you don't need to worry about it just suddenly coming loose. So next up, I'm going to position this piece about over here, using the same technique as we used for these two. Okay, and so we do the same thing with the hairspray, blow dryer, coming out the outer layer, hairspray, blow dryer. You just repeat the same process. Okay. Now, to get the front piece moving to the side, the quickest way to actually get it right is to move the head sideways, heat it up, let it cool down, and then it will automatically kind of stay in that direction. As you can see, it already stays up straight pretty well, just by making the roots going to the correct direction. So next up we're going to the back comb once again, but I will split the bangs in 2 pieces because if the piece is too large, it's going to get very difficult to get to the inside of the piece. Okay. So this is the finished product. I hope this will be helpful for any other Chihiro cosplayers. You can of course use this for other characters or as a reference for the bangs, for the back, doesn't matter. I ended up making 3 spikes in the bangs because there's a lot of hair saved for the bangs, but just do whatever you feel comfortable with. Use whatever products you have, whatever wig you have, whatever length, does not matter. But I hope this actually helped.